Today we will study the light harvesting complex of plants. Light harvesting complex is also known as an antenna complex. These complexes are made up of the light absorbing pigment molecules such as chlorophyll and proteins, and together these complexes are embedded in the thylakoid membranes in green plants. All green plants, they have chloroplasts, and these thylakoid membranes are organized within the chloroplasts. However, in cyanobacteria, though cyanobacteria photosynthesize, but they do not have chloroplasts, and their internal membrane system on which this light harvesting complex is embedded, it is found as a loose membrane system inside the cytoplasm within the cyanobacteria. These light harvesting complexes transfer light energy to a pair of chlorophyll A molecules at the reaction center of a photosystem. That is, the energy which is captured from the light photons is transferred to the reaction center chlorophyll molecule within a photosystem. This figure shows one light harvesting complex with its core pigment and the associated antenna pigments. As you can see in this diagram, there are a number of antenna pigments arranged in circles around one central reaction center chlorophyll molecule, which is the reaction center. Light incident upon these antenna pigments is captured by these antenna pigments and transferred ultimately to the reaction center chlorophyll molecule by means of resonance transfer. The antenna pigments are predominantly chlorophyll B, xanthophylls and carotenes. Chlorophyll A is known as the core pigment. Absorption spectrum. We know pigment molecules present in plants absorb a particular wavelength of light, and different pigments absorb at different frequencies of light. As for example, carotenes absorb at different wavelengths, chlorophylls absorb at different wavelengths, and the absorption spectrum is primarily determined by the atomic and molecular composition of the material. And when you represent this absorption of any particular pigment in a graphic form, this will give you the absorption spectrum. Pigments and absorption spectra. Their absorption spectra are non-overlapping and broaden the range of light that can be absorbed in photosynthesis. This is very interesting. There are different pigments. For example, we have studied chlorophyll, carotenes, xanthophylls. These are all light absorbing pigments within plants, and they absorb at different wavelengths, and their absorption is non-overlapping, so that absorption can be done over a wide range of frequencies of light. The carotenoids have another role as an antioxidant to prevent photooxidative damage of chlorophyll molecules. So carotenoids, besides absorbing light, they have another role to act as an antioxidant to prevent the photoactive damage of chlorophyll. Action and absorption spectrum. An absorption spectrum shows all the colors of light absorbed by any particular pigment. In this diagram, we can see the wavelengths of lights absorbed by three different pigments: chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B and carotenoids. An action spectrum shows all the colors of light that are used in photosynthesis, which are actually effective in photosynthesis. An absorption spectrum defines a spectrum of electromagnetic radiation or light which that plant absorbs, and an action spectrum defines the spectrum of electromagnetic radiation which is most effective for photosynthesis. In other words, it is the part of light spectrum that can be converted into work. The antenna complex. Each antenna complex has between 250 and 400 pigment molecules. and the energy they absorb is shuttled by resonance energy transfer to a specialized chlorophyll protein complex known as the reaction center of each photosystem. The reaction center starts a complex series of chemical reactions that capture energy in the form of chemical bonds. This diagram is basically to give you an idea of the arrangement of the light harvesting complex on the thylakoid membrane. You can see a thylakoid membrane, and within this thylakoid membrane there is a light harvesting complex. In this diagram it is the photosystem 2. Towards one side of the thylakoid membrane is the stroma, and towards the other is the thylakoid lumen. The different pigment molecules are arranged in the periphery of the reaction center. The peripheral molecules, pigment molecules, are known as the antenna complexes, and towards the center there is a pair of chlorophyll molecules which represent the reaction center of this photosystem. And the reaction center is located towards the lumen side of the thylakoid membrane. The primary electron acceptor is located towards the stroma side of the thylakoid membrane. Phycobilosomes. Now, what are these phycobilosomes? In cyanobacteria, phycocyanin is a major light harvesting pigment, and it is organized as phycobilosomes, which is a light harvesting complex of cyanobacteria, similar to the light harvesting complex in green plants. And in green plants, the chlorophyll molecules and the carotenoids, they were the major light harvesting pigments. However, in cyanobacteria, phycocyanin is a major light harvesting pigment. Phycobilisomes are light harvesting antennae that transfer energy to photosynthetic reaction center in cyanobacteria and red algae. Phycobilisomes are supramolecular complexes composed of phycobilioproteins that bear chromophores for energy absorption and linker protein. This picture is of a phycobilisome. Phycobilisomes are the light harvesting complexes of cyanobacteria. They are similar to the light harvesting complexes in green plants. These are also protein and pigment complexes embedded on the thylakoid membrane. However, we see that the antenna molecules here, they are of phycocyanins and phycoerythrins and not chlorophyll, which we found in green plants. But however, they are organized as a complex, light harvesting complex anchored to the thylakoid membrane.